Hey, Dan Meyer here, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that I'm really excited about, and it's the Filipino VA Advantage. There are virtual assistants all over the world, and there are pros and cons to pretty much any different country that you go to get outsourcing done, to have virtual staff. But the Philippines for me is the best, and I'll tell you why. It's very personal, and I'll share with you some of the reasons why I think the Filipino VA gives you a huge advantage. And basically, I'll outline 5 different areas where I think it's definitely a differentiator between having a VA from the Philippines versus having a VA from India or somewhere in Europe or anywhere actually in the world. There's certain advantages that you get when you work with a really, really good, in fact, rock star VAs from the Philippines. One is the quality of English. 2 is the adaptability these VAs tend to have. 3 is the culture that a Filipino will bring to the work environment. 4 is their work experience, what they've actually accomplished in their lives and in their careers that will add value to your business. And the 5th is cost savings. When it comes to outsourcing or delegating or hiring staff, cost is always something that people look at. So I'll talk about that for a few minutes as well. Just to kind of recap though, for those of you that aren't familiar with my background, I set up my first business in the Philippines back in 2011. I happen to be from a part of California where there's a lot of Filipino immigrants. I grew up around Filipinos and the culture, and I understand it pretty well. I went to the Philippines with Wells Fargo to do some work when they first started doing some outsourcing of the Philippines. So I've got a lot of experience working with the Philippines. So I have a fairly unique perspective on things, and I understand that. And I'll caveat what I say today by saying that I am extremely biased towards the Filipino VA. But I think when you look at purely business perspectives, you're going to see the advantages that I see as well. I currently have a business with over 100 virtual staff. Majority of them are in the Philippines, although I do have some virtual assistants here in the US, and I'm always open to hiring people no matter where they're at. Basically, I want to go where the talent is so I can match the talent with the requirements of the client. If you yourself, if you have a business, if you want to have a business in the US and only want to hire US VAs, that's possible as well. But for the most part, I'm going to recommend that the first choice you look at are Filipino VAs. This is how I built my business from just me to a team of 100 people. This is how I've turned my business into $1 million a year business. This is how I've helped my clients, dozens of clients, build their own businesses, predominantly using Filipino virtual staff. So the biggest game changer for me when it comes to why the Philippines over other countries besides the US is the quality of English. Little history lesson, and I don't want to bore anybody, but the Philippines was an American colony for about 50 years. And during that time period, the U.S. really invested heavily in the Philippine education system. The idea was to really teach Filipinos how to speak an American-style English. And still today, American-style English is taught in the Filipino school system. It's a requirement. So Filipinos, for the most part, grow up with the familiarity of English, and they're able to speak it pretty well. And they're even probably better able to write it than a lot of Americans are. The attention that Filipinos in the school system pay to spelling and grammar is top notch. You'll notice that it's different than Indian VAs who speak more of a British style of English, or VAs from Eastern Europe, VAs from China, other parts of Asia. They all speak English, but usually it's a different type of English than you'd expect from Filipinos because of the American experience. So that's just one advantage, the American style of English. And not just English as far as like language, but also business culture. A lot of Filipinos watch a lot of American television. There's a lot of American commercialism in the Philippines, so that familiarity with English is quite strong. The second reason is adaptability. The Filipinos are incredibly adaptable. If you go to anywhere in the world, you're going to come across Filipinos because they go everywhere where the work is. The Philippines, bad or good, has an economy that's driven primarily on people working outside of the country. Now, some do it in the country, but for outside clients like virtual assistants. But the biggest employer of Filipinos is actually going overseas to work as domestic helpers, to work as engineers, to work in the oil fields in the Middle East, to work as nurses. There's a ton of U.S. nurses that are Filipino in heritage. You also, if you go on a cruise, you'll notice that like a third to half of all the staff, all the crew on a ship are from the Philippines. So the Filipinos are adaptable. They go where the work is. And virtual staff staffing is no exception. As virtual staffing becomes more and more common, as we have better technology that keeps us connected, that allows us to do a lot of work from anywhere on the planet, you're going to continue to see the Filipino thrive when it comes to working from home. And this is something that shows their adaptability. It's also in their ability to take on many different types of jobs. They're very open to like retraining, to leveling up. You don't find a lot of Filipinos who get stuck in doing one way of thinking and stick with it their whole lives. They expect to have to adapt. It's a cultural thing. And speaking of culture, one of the great things about Filipino culture that I love and that is really good for my clients and my customers is a culture of respect. The Filipino, for whatever reason, is a very polite culture. I find that they try to please, and it's really difficult to generalize. And I never want to be one to say everyone's the same, but as a general rule, you find that Filipinos are extremely polite. And this is definitely true in customer service, in working with customers trying to solve problems. There are a number of reasons why the call center industry is so big in the Philippines. If you call 1-800-whatever to get customer service, you have a 50-50 chance of getting a Filipino VA. Half of all the 1-800 number calls in the world go to the Philippines because of this English, as well as this culture of wanting to problem solve, of wanting to help, of wanting to make sure people are okay. So I find that my Filipino VAs and the ones that I use with my clients, they're always so happy with the interactions, with the communications, with the caring. They call it in the Philippines mabuhay. It means welcome, right? And it's kind of similar to in Hawaii if you hear about aloha. It's a welcoming culture. It's a culture where we want to make you feel happy and we want to take care of you. So that culture of respect is a huge differentiator when it comes to Filipino VAs. Another one is work experience, right? The average Filipino VA has a bachelor's degree, and they have years of experience working for U.S. or foreign clients. Pretty much all of my team, 90% of my team of 100 people, they used to work in call centers. And this is really my secret sauce. This is where I draw most of my employees from. If you imagine, you work in a call center, you get used to a certain type of business environment. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of having to follow schedules. There's a lot of different ways to use resources to solve problems. It requires you to have really good communication in English. These kind of things are ingrained in a lot of Filipino employees that make great virtual assistants, right? That background is something that's really hard to find in other countries. One of the challenges to having virtual assistants here in the U.S. is that a lot of the people that want to be a VA, they do that and they have a certain skill or they're good in a certain niche, but they don't have that general customer service background. Or you look at the fact that if you're looking for someone who's got a certain training, a certain education background, it's fairly challenging to find good VAs in the U.S. that have a college degree. So I'm not trying to say pros or cons, I'm just saying this is what the reality is and why I tend to look for Filipino VAs more often than not. You can definitely find great VAs in the U.S. that have all these requirements. It's just easier to find them in the Philippines. And of course, the biggest differentiator, which unfortunately this is just the reality of the world we live in, it's a lot cheaper to hire a Filipino VA than a VA from most parts of the world. Simple metric, for 50 pesos in the Philippines is $1 here. You pay somebody a couple $100 a month in the Philippines, you convert it to pesos, that's a pretty good lifestyle. They can support their family on that. Here, nobody can live for a couple $100 a month. It's impossible, right? So that cost differentiator is a big deal. Now, you don't want to go cheap. You don't want to go to the Philippines just because you're looking to go cheapest, because that will blow up in your face, because then you'll look for the cheapest people and you'll look for the cheapest tools and you'll just focus on the cheap, and that will lead you into trouble. But if you are looking to look at the overall benefits to doing outsourcing to the Philippines, to working with Filipino VAs, you're going to definitely want to weigh cost. And on the average, most Filipino VAs, if they're freelancer, if they're just working on their own, if you go to Fiverr or Upwork to hire someone to do graphic design or a newsletter or your social media, you're looking at paying somewhere between $5 and $10. $5 is usually the low end. You can find some people for cheaper, but you're going to get what you pay for. Some VA services, especially managed ones like mine, will be $10 an hour, maybe a little more. You're paying for not just the VA, but paying for the management of the VA, which ensures that you're going to get quality service, that they're going to be there every day, that they get their payroll on time, that billing happens on a regular basis, that you can do taxes on. So if you're looking for a more structured virtual experience, you want to go with a managed VA, so you don't have to worry about that. If you just want a quick and easy, job done, a project by a virtual staff, you can go with something like Fiverr or Upwork, but you're going to have a 50-50 crapshoot whether they're going to be quality or not. So cost is a big deal, right? Think about those things. So when you think about how you want to run your business, this is why you choose a Filipino VA to help you launch or grow your business. They're going to have good English. They're going to be really adaptable. They're going to have a great culture that's going to want to help your clients and help you grow your business. They're going to have a lot of quality work experience and education, and of course the cost will be a factor in your benefit. So I'm all for people hiring people in the US, but when you can't find the right people, when you want to provide 24/7 service, when you want things done outside the normal work hours, that's when you really should be looking to hire outside, and that's where the Filipino VA gives you the best advantage. So whether you want to do Facebook ads or social media management, design marketing materials, send newsletters, do data entry, market research, appointment setting, client bookings, whatever you want to do, we can do for you. I want you to think about how you can grow your business by focusing on what you do best and hiring for all the rest. We can find you the talent, whether it be domestic here in the US or in the Philippines. We can find you the talent that will peel away the things you're doing that keep you from focusing on what you do best. The things that are time consuming, that are manual, that are repetitive, that are no fun, stop doing those and have somebody do those for you for less than $10 an hour. This is a system I set up, a system I can train you on. I will walk you through it as part of our VA package with our managed service. Myself and my management team will work with you hand in hand to make sure that when you hire one of our VAs, it's going to be successful. We have a very low attrition rate. A lot of my VAs have been with me since 2013 when I first launched my first VA business. And they're wonderful. They're going to work hard. They're going to care about you. They're going to put their all into making your dreams come true. So if you want to get started today, there's 2 ways to do it. First, you can go to our website, www.sonicva.com. That's sonicva.com, and fill out a form to get started. Or you can text the word data. That's text the word data, DATA, to 26786. That's 26786, and you'll get the form sent right to you, and you can fill it out on your phone. So this is how we get started. We will work with you. The average turnaround time from when we get your requirement to when the VA starts with you is about 3 to 4 days. You can hire the person yourself. You can interview them. You can be involved in it if you want to be, or we can select the right person that matches your requirements. So that's what we do at Sonic VA. That's why you want to think about looking at Filipino VAs if you're looking to launch or scale your business and you aren't able to find the resources you need around you. We can find them for you. So that's my talk for today. Hopefully it helped, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Have a great day.